Good evening. The time is now 7 o'clock. The Wayzata Public Schools Board of Education regular meeting for Monday, November 10th, 2025 will please come to order. Will the clerk please call the vote? Roll.
Sarah Johansson,
Here.
Horace Bende,
Here.
Valentina Ayers,
Here.
Dan Ginestra,
Here.
Heidi Cater,
Here.
Sheila Pryor, here, Milan Sahoni,
Present.
Chase Anderson.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Please rise to recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you wish to speak during the audience opportunity today to address the board, please fill out a form placed at the back of the room and hand it over to our district admin assistant, Amy, sitting to my right. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda and the consent agenda items. Consent agenda items are considered routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or a citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed as a consent agenda item and addressed. The consent agenda items are listed in the materials. The recommended action is to approve the agenda and the consent agenda items. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Will the clerk please take a roll call vote?
Horace Bende,
Yes.
Sheila Pryor, yes, Heidi Cater,
Yes.
Valentina Ayers,
Yes.
Dan Ginestra,
Yes.
Sarah Johansson,
Yes.
Milan Sahoni.
Yes, we have an agenda. Thank you, Sheila. The next item on our agenda is reports from organizations, and I would like to invite Rachel in.
Oh, Rachel.
Rachel is not here. Okay. So nobody's here then?
No.
Oh, okay. So we skip that item. Sorry. You do have something to say? Okay.
Rachel sends her apologies. She did not have a right. Clubs and Academics Student Council, they kicked off their annual Adopt a Family fundraiser for IOCP Food Shelf and Minnesota Children's Hospital. Student council members wear fanny packs to gather donations to support those who need it the most. The theater, Anything Goes, is on stage from November 14th through the 22nd. You can purchase your tickets now through the high school. And students who opted in took the pre-ACTs this weekend to prepare for standardized testing. In sports news, the Wayzata girls and boys cross country won their respective state championships. The girls team won its 4th consecutive state title, while the boys team finished 2nd in the same championship. Wayzata is a powerhouse. Those quotes, not me. The 8-time state champion Wayzata girls soccer team advanced to the state finals tournament at US Bank Stadium, and we sadly lost 2-3. Nonetheless, hundreds of Trojans showed up with pride and energy to support our team in this incredible feat. As it gets colder and colder, fall sports are wrapping up and coming to a close. Hope you have a great evening till we meet again in December.
Would you won't be taking questions, right, from us? Okay. All right. So at least, comments, if anybody wants to say anything. No? Okay. Moving forward, the next item on the agenda is recognition. In keeping with the spirit of inclusion, we rotate board members at the podium. Today, Director Bende will join Dr. Anderson at the podium.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our school board meeting tonight. It's great to see such a nice crowd out here tonight. Great cheering sections for some of our recognitions here tonight, I believe. Our first recognition is for the November Employee of the Month from Plymouth Creek Elementary School, and I would like to invite Abilene Olson, often known as Abby, to please come forward. Congratulations. I'll invite you up. So I'm going to share the really nice summary of Abby's work here with you and then give her a chance to share a few thoughts as well. Plymouth Creek Elementary is excited to recognize an integral member of our team as the November Employee of the Month. Abilene Olson serves as the administrative professional at Plymouth Creek and has held this role since January of 2023. The main office of an elementary school is constantly buzzing. Staff members need supplies, caregivers are calling for information, and kids are stopping in to say hello and grab a snack. Abby consistently models positivity and professionalism, managing it all with a smile. Staff members shared the following. Abby is always so friendly and helpful. Even if she's busy, she will stop what she is doing to help others. She's often a problem solver and knows the answers to many questions. The front office runs smoothly because of her. She is a positive light in the office for our staff and students. She goes out of her way to support students' needs when they come to the office and is a big help for me as a teacher. Abby approaches everything with a positive attitude and is always going above and beyond to help the staff members in this building. She does very well in high-stress situations as well, and I don't think this school would be what it is without her. Each school year brings new challenges, and Abby is always the first person to ask, "How can I help?" Her willingness to serve in any capacity helps support the flow of the building. She is known to comfort a struggling student, solve a copy room disaster, celebrate the success of a colleague, place an emergency order, provide a one-to-one conference to a family requesting information, and put together a newsletter, all in a matter of hours. Abby is loved and treasured by staff, students, and family. She embodies the spirit of Plymouth Creek and is a model for each one of us every day. Congratulations to Abby Olson for being recognized as the Wayzata Public Schools Employee of the Month for November. Congratulations.
I will keep it short and sweet. I love my school. I love my staff. I love being able to come to work every day. It just makes me really happy. I don't feel like a lot of people get to drive to work smiling. So I'm really grateful that I get to be a true professional teacher's pet. And here's to another 40 years.
Before I move on, I'll just affirm I've experienced all of that when I've walked into the office at Plymouth Creek. So thanks, Abby, for being here. Our next recognition is another really exciting award. It's for the Minnesota 2025 National Distinguished Principal Recognition. And I would like to invite Birchview Principal Ashley Farrington to please come forward. And before I turn it over to Ashley, I'd like to just share the following. Ashley Farrington, principal of Birchview Elementary in Wayzata Public Schools, has been named Minnesota's 2025 National Distinguished Principal by the National Association of Elementary School Principals. Ashley was honored this fall in Washington, D.C. for his visionary leadership, commitment to equity, and transformative impact on school climate and student achievement. Known for his belief that every kid has a superpower, Farrington has redefined Birchview's culture around the message, "You matter," boosting both belonging and academic growth. Under his leadership, the school has seen a 7% increase in reading growth and launched several leadership teams to foster shared responsibility among staff. Principal Farrington exemplifies what it means to lead with heart, vision, and purpose, said Michelle Krell, MESPA Executive Director. Congratulations, Ashley.
All right, good luck. Good luck being brief when Mr. Farrington gets the microphone. So I won't be like Abby. Sorry. Oh, you want to play it? Okay, sorry. That makes it even longer. Hi, everybody. I'm Ashley Farrington. I'm the proud principal here at Birchview Elementary. And I've been the principal now for 5 years. Next year will be my 6th year. And I couldn't be luckier to be the principal here at this school with this group of people. Our families, our staff, and our kids are just second to none. And I am so grateful for the opportunity to lead the school.
Hello, my name's Lamont. My dad just won the Stringless Principal of the Year.
Hi, my name is Liana. My dad's the Principal of the Year. I just wanted you guys to know.
I love it, baby. It's really exciting. I'm still processing a lot of what it means to me. But really, ultimately, the first thing that comes to mind is the great work that happens at our school each and every day. And I'm so grateful for this opportunity to share our school's story and all the great things. While I might be recognized, really recognize the hard work of our school. And like I said, I'm really, really proud to be the principal. So this award just means a lot to be able to showcase Birchview and all the amazing things that happens here. So my first shout out is for my mom. My mom is a big part of my story and why I'm able to be the man I am today and the principal that I am today. I'd like to give a shout out to my wife, Hillary, and my kids, Lamont and Liana. They support me every day with this work, making sure that taking care of me at home so I can then take care of everybody else at school. And then I want to give a huge shout out to Birchview Elementary. We have the best teachers, we have the best families, and we have the best students. And I'm so lucky that this is the place that I get to work every day.
Yeah! You are the best principal ever.
Oh, thank you.
You're the best principal ever. You are the best.
Now can I go? Good evening, Chair, members of the board, and members of our community. I stand before you today humbled, honored, and truly grateful. This morning is extraordinary, and I'm deeply appreciative to be here representing Birchview and the broader Wayzata community. For those of you who I haven't had the chance to meet, my name is Ashley Farrington, the proud principal of Birchview Elementary, and the 2025 Minnesota National Distinguished Principal. It still gives me goosebumps to say those words out loud. This honor is one I don't take lightly. My journey from the small but mighty islands of the Bahamas to the frozen tundra of Minnesota has been full of purpose. From a young age, I believe education was the gateway to a brighter future. I used to sit on my porch helping neighborhood kids with homework, what my mom called in running a neighborhood school or using all of her money. There were tough times, stories that would take more than 2 minutes to share, but through it all, I became who I am today. And I have no regrets. Raised by a single mom in a low-income home, the odds were stacked against me. But I was lifted by many educators, like my third grade teacher, Mrs. Longley, who saw me, pushed me, and in many ways saved me. Today, I have the privilege of living out that purpose every day at Birchview. And even more meaningful, I get to share that experience with my own children, Lamont and Liana, who are proud Bobcats. Birchview is a remarkable place. For the past 5.5 years, I've had the honor of serving a community that leads with heart. Our motto is simple: at BV, you matter. Our top priority is ensuring every student, every staff member, and every family feels safe, connected, and a true sense of belonging. Because when people feel like they belong, they take risks, they discover purpose, and they thrive. At Birchview, people are thriving every day. Although this award has my name on it, it is truly a collective honor. It represents the hard work, care, and commitment of our staff, our families, and the entire Birchview community. To my Birchview family, I love you. You and there is no better place that I would rather be. I also want to offer special thanks to my wife, Hillary, my constant source of encouragement and strength. Your support keeps me grounded, especially when the work becomes challenging. To my children, Lamont and Leanna, you are my inspiration. Every time I see you in the hallways, I'm reminded why this work matters so deeply. If it's not good enough for you, it's not good enough for any child. To my mother, Karen Smith, who will be here tomorrow, by the way, and family, thank you for your sacrifice, your love, and your belief in me. I am who I am because of you. To Wayzata Public Schools, thank you for believing in me. From teacher to dean to assistant principal to principal, you gave me the opportunity to live my dream, and I am profoundly grateful to call this district home. To MESWA, thank you for this extraordinary honor. As president of our association and now Minnesota's NDP, I'm committed to paying it forward, supporting and uplifting the incredible principals across our state who are shaping children's lives each day. To my friends, mentors, and colleagues, many of whom who are here, thank you for challenging me, believing in me, and reminding me of the joy in this work. Each morning at Birchview, our students recite a pledge. Today, I will share that pledge with you because it reflects not only who we are, but who we strive to become. We are Birchview. We are a community that works together. We show compassion when we care for others. We are curious when we question the world around us. We show commitment by never giving up. We are unique, we matter, we are Birchview. And to all of you who lead, teach, and serve, you are unique. You do matter. And I am incredibly proud of the work you do for our children every single day. Thank you.
Congratulations again, Ashley, and thanks everybody for being here tonight. It's been really fun to watch Ashley grow and flourish within the district, starting as a teacher, as he said, and then working into a dean position and assistant principal and now principal at Birchview. Thanks to his wife Hillary and his kids who are here tonight to support Dad and share this special moment with him. So thank you, Ashley, for all of your hard work. And I always enjoy going to Birchview, and it's always kind of hard to find Ashley because he's zipping around 100 miles an hour through the building, in and out of classrooms, and greeting kids in the morning when the buses show up. And he's a real high-energy principal in a high-energy building with wonderful staff who are here to support him tonight. So thank you so much, and congratulations. Enjoy the moment. Our next recognition this evening is for the Minnesota Community Education Association Supportive Administrator of the Year. And I would like to invite Dana Miller to please come forward. Congratulations. Dana's a familiar face at school board meetings, our very own Executive Director of Teaching and Learning. And I would like to share the following that was submitted on her behalf and then give her an opportunity to speak a little bit about this award that she received. We are proud to share that Dana Miller has been selected as the Minnesota Community Education Association's 2025 Supportive Administrator of the Year. Dana received her award at the MCEA Fall Conference on October 30th. Dana was nominated by her community ed colleagues for the award based on her exceptional leadership, advocacy, and unwavering commitment to our youngest learners. Dana's dedication goes far beyond expectations. She brings vision, compassion, and collaboration to everything that she does. Dana understands that early learning is the foundation of a child's educational journey. When two of our elementary schools face significant space challenges that threatened the loss of preschool classrooms, Dana immediately used data and insight to partner with district and school leaders to find creative solutions. Because of her advocacy and persistence, every preschool classroom was preserved, ensuring continued access for our youngest learners. Over the past 4 years, Dana has been instrumental in helping our district to truly embrace an E12 culture. Early learning staff are now included in professional learning opportunities, and a building instructional leadership team meets regularly with district leaders to ensure that early learning has a consistent voice in our collective work. Dana exemplifies collaboration. She shares her staff expertise and resources in support of all community ed programs. One powerful example is her team's work to create professional learning communities for our Wayzata Kids Child Care Leadership Team, a model that has strengthened programs and deepened professional growth across departments. Through her thoughtful leadership and steadfast belief in the importance of early learning programs, district-wide collaboration, and shared professional learning, Dana has helped shape a stronger, more connected district. Congratulations, Dana. This recognition is a wonderful reflection of our collective work to support every learner in our community. And knowing you pretty well, I know how hard that was for you to stand there and listen to me read that. But congratulations, well done. And now we'll give you a chance to speak on your own behalf for a moment if you'd like. Congratulations.
I thought I could just get up here and say thank you and go, and then Ashley, so now I gotta say something. But it truly is an honor, and Chase is right, I'm not really good at public displays of recognition or emotion. I joked at the conference that unless it's a Vikings game, and then I become a completely different person and emotions are off. But I think I'll just stand up here all night since the Packers are playing and Chase wants to get home, and so we'll just stand here and enjoy the evening. But truly, the recognition really touched my heart, and I'm deeply grateful to represent the work of Wayzata Schools and the incredible partnership between teaching and learning and community education. For those of you that don't know about me, I come to this education thing pretty honestly. Both my moms were elementary teachers, and my late father was a school administrator for 42 years, and if you can believe it, 34 of them as a superintendent. I don't know, Chase, what do you have? Getting pretty close, right? But education was our dinner table talk literally every night. And while as a teenager I didn't really appreciate that, I certainly am grateful now because it was my father where I learned that schools run on people, on caring, creative, and committed people. And as my dad used to say, no job is beneath you and nothing worth doing is worth doing alone. So I know I'm the one standing up here getting this award, but it's absolutely not about me. It's about the incredible people I get to work with every day, especially my teaching and learning team. Thank you for being here tonight. That kind of shook me up a little bit, and I appreciate it gratefully. But it is just an incredible team that we're gifted to have here in Wayzata, along with leaders and support staff in equity, inclusion, specialized services, technology, communication, community ed partners, and our building and district leaders. You all make this very hard work joyful and purposeful. I was told that this award recognizes my commitment to the E in the E12 system, and last year at a facilities meeting afterwards, Jenny Ebert thanked me for the story that was told here tonight, and honestly, my reaction was, yeah, isn't that what we're supposed to do? Because I'm a firm believer that supporting early learning shouldn't be a bonus, it should be the baseline. So I also want to thank Michelle Bedore. Michelle and I have worked together both at Eastern Carver County Schools and here in Wayzata. And so it's taking her 2 school districts to patiently teach this secondary trained educator about the importance of being a ready system and a ready school. And that we need to learn to meet families and students where they are and show up and grow with them from there. That's a pretty genius idea, to meet kids where they're at. And if we were to live out that mission and standard all the way through and take that learning from early learning, we'd truly be unstoppable. So I'm going to close with the last bit of wisdom with my dad, who always said, if you're having a rough day in education, go visit an early learning classroom. And he was right. There's nothing like watching our 4-year-olds joyfully learn how to be curious, kind, and brave, to mind you why we all do what we do. So I want to thank Wayzata Community Education's team, the Minnesota Community Education Association, and especially my amazing team that I have the gift of working with every day. It's truly a gift to come to work every day. So for everything we all do in support of our children and their learning and our community, thanks.
Congratulations again, Dana, and thanks to Jenny and the Community Ed Department for that wonderful nomination. And the fact that she received that award is certainly indicative of the great work that she does for us in the Teaching and Learning Department. Our final recognition this evening is for those who announced their intent to retire since our last school board meeting. We have 2 on our list tonight. And those individuals include Polly Davidson, administrative professional at Wayzata High School, who served for 22 years, and Melinda Inman, Wayzata Kids, Kimberly Lane, for 3 years. If you'd join me in a round of applause for these 2 individuals. I didn't see that they were here tonight. They're probably home watching the Packer game, I'm guessing. Don't you think, Dana? Anyway, thank you so much. That concludes our recognition.
Congratulations to the honorees, and thank you, Paras and Dr. Anderson. All right, moving on, we now have the highlight of our regular meetings, the school spotlight presentation. Tonight, the spotlight is on Plymouth Creek Elementary, and I'll turn it over to Executive Director of Teaching and Learning, Dana Miller, to make the introductions. Dana?
Thank you. This is much easier because we get to celebrate the great work of Plymouth Creek Elementary, who's here with us tonight. And as we know, one of our foundation is working on the student experience, specifically that importance of our students belonging. And so tonight, Principal Ashley Paul is here to talk to us about how they've been on that journey of making sure our students at Plymouth Creek feel that belonging need is filled. And they're going to speak tonight specifically to the addition of their regulation stations. So with that, Ashley, we'll turn it over to you. Thank you. Yeah.
Good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Anderson, community members. Thanks for having us here today. I'm Ashley Paul, the principal at Plymouth Creek Elementary, and I have with us the newest addition to our staff, Michaela Paulson, our school counselor. We are thrilled to have her on our team. And we're here tonight to talk a little bit about the building goals that we've been working at for the last many years around students feeling good about who they are and feeling like they belong at Plymouth Creek. This year, we have a specific goal around the adults in the building making intentional decisions to aid in students' understanding and sense of belonging. And so I'm excited to share about where that work has led us this year and work that's been made much more efficient and purposeful with the addition of our school counselor. So I'm just going to share a brief history of what got us here. In 2021, Becky Kittleson was our peer coach. She's now part of the Equity and Inclusion Department. And she shared about restitution with some staff as their peer coach. And we made a commitment as a whole staff then to learn more about restitution because we felt that our PBIS systems were not working for all students. Staff did a full year of learning before any of that learning was introduced to students. From 2022 to 24, students started learning using Y charts to describe the ideal state for learning and community in the building. They also learned about their basic needs and worked with adults and students on repair when harm was caused. In 2024, student needs were at an all-time high in our building. Our building had nearly 700 students, and our support team was stretched. Our PTO agreed to spend $10,000 on tools and books to support regulation as a Tier 1 classroom support, meaning that we could do our best to meet student needs right in the classroom. So our dean, who couldn't be here this evening, and I worked to research student materials and classroom books that could support regulation of all types and ultimately create kits for each of our learning spaces in the building, classrooms, offices, specialist spaces, et cetera. And so this year we added Michaela to our support team as our school counselor, and regulation stations became a full reality. So here are some pictures of teachers unboxing their materials for regulation stations during our back to school time. And so these kits there's two separate kits. There's one that serves pre-K through second grade students and a kit that serves third through fifth grade students. There are some materials in the kit that are the same throughout the grades, and then some that are more specialized based on the age of students. All the pictures. Staff received professional learning in August during workshop week to create a baseline for understanding regulation and also to set some goals for where we'd like to go. This was really important because this isn't necessarily information that we receive as educators and part of our training to become educators. And so really understanding the brain and what happens with regulation was really important for all of us. Through the use of one of our culturally responsive protocols, staff actually looked at a rubric for regulation station implementation and identified where they were at that time, while also looking at and considering the ideal state for full implementation and the use of these materials for students. We leveraged our professional learning time last Friday also to continue our understanding of regulation to further support the use of these tools in our classrooms. Our building has had a calendar and a scope and sequence for supporting social emotional learning for the last several years. And so this year, this staff resource was updated to include videos made by our dean and school counselor to support the rollout of regulation station for students and for staff. The videos were designed to ensure that all students receive the same information and also then used as a tool to support staff learning at the same time. We're not going to watch all 9 minutes. I don't know if there's sound. Maybe not. The learning was broken into 5 different videos, specifically around the zones of regulation. How do we meet those needs to get back to learning? And also to introduce each of the specific tools in the kit.
Hey Panthers, it's Mrs. Paulson, your school counselor, here for session 5 in our series about learning about regulation stations and the zones of regulation. Today, we will be reviewing everything we've learned so far this school year. We have 3 learning targets for today's session. The first, I remember how to use the regulation station. The second one, I remember the 4 zones of regulation. And last, I remember how to choose an appropriate strategy for the zone I am in. We have learned that we can be in the regulation.
I'm very glad we didn't have to watch all 9 minutes of that. Thank you. It's so cringy listening to yourself on video. I would much rather speak to what the kids are saying about what we're doing in our building. So I gathered some quotes from various students in various grades, and I just wanted to highlight a few here. One student shared, the regulation station helps me feel regulated when I am dysregulated, because using a tool helps me get all my extra energy out like Mrs. Paulson taught us. Then I can be happy and ready to learn. Another student shared, sometimes I don't need the physical tools. I just need the space to feel my feelings. Then I can rejoin the learning. Another student shared, the regulation station helps me calm down with all the different tools. I like the pictures with the different strategies I can use. 5-finger breathing is my favorite strategy. And the last one, I think this one maybe speaks to me the most. I don't use the regulation station, but I like that I could if I needed it. So our students are responding very well to it. And then a photo of a kiddo actually using it in real time. Me, I am Mrs. Paulson. I am the new school counselor at Plymouth Creek this year, and I'm so very thrilled to be there. It's very easy to step into a role such as mine when there's great work already being done at the building. I am not taking any credit for anything. It is already great before I got there, and I am simply just trying to enhance that.
Some ways that I'm able to do this, I do counselor lessons in every classroom once per month. I also send out a monthly newsletter to our families through Parent Square, which has been a great source of connection, building that school and home partnership, which I believe strongly in. And I've had a lot of families reach out to me as a result of those newsletters, so that has been very thrilling for me to experience. And then I like throwing in numbers when they exist, so I just thought I would share that 30 students have been specifically added to my caseload as a result of teacher, parent, guardian, or RAP referrals. So I am pretty busy. That photo collage, sorry, I forgot to mention, but it's from our Unity Day celebration. It was so special. Lots of orange in the building. Our buddy classrooms visited each other, and there was friendship bracelets made and crafts made, and it was just a really beautiful day of celebrating. So I thought that was worth documenting. Again, I am not one to say nice things about myself. I would much rather have someone else say nice things. And again, like, it really comes down to what the kids are saying. If the kids aren't thinking that I'm doing my job and doing well at it, then I'm really not. So I put together a little compilation of different students and asking them, like, what is different about Plymouth Creek since we have a school counselor this year? What have you learned from me? What do you like about me? And this is what they had to say.
It means to me that our school counselor is important and stuff, and teaches us every time she comes, and it's just like it means to my heart like a good thing for our school counselors to come to us while it's like it's more funner to have a school counselor, just like when I see you on every time like at the end of the day, and you always give me a hug before I go to my bus stop, and it really means something really important to me that I had to have a school counselor. Miss Paulson, I love her, and she teaches us boundary and 5-finger breathing, like this. And I love her. And she helps me make friends, and also she helps people listen, so it's not so hard for people to listen all the time. And also Miss Paulson does really fun things with people when you meet your goal.
The thing that I like about Miss Paulson being here is that I always have somebody to talk to. Something that I like about having Miss Paulson here is that I feel more safe here, and knowing that someone can listen to me and understand what I'm saying. Something I like about what Miss Paulson teaches us is that she teaches us techniques that we can use at our desk if we don't feel very we want to be here. One thing that I like about Mrs. Paulson is that her lessons are really engaging, and I feel that we can get the information easily, and our school benefits from her because kids have the ability to talk about their feelings and how safe they feel instead of doing something really bad. Miss Paulson is amazing. Her turn. So last year we didn't really have a school counselor. It's a lot easier to have one because then I can talk to her and how she helps me feel my feelings, because I have counseling outside of school also, and so I only have that on Mondays, but when I'm at school I can have that any day I need it.
Yeah, what do you even say after that? That literally says it all. Obviously, I don't just work with children, as amazing as they are. I also believe firmly in supporting staff as well and being a service to them. And so their feedback also matters to me. So during our professional learning on Friday, I asked staff to share some feedback for the sake of sharing it with all of you. And this is what just a handful of staff had to share. Mrs. Paulson has been amazing to have in my classroom. She truly connects life skills in a fun, engaging way. My students love her. Mrs. Paulson's patience and drive to help each student be the best they can be is so inspiring. Her creativity shows in everything she does, and she is excellent at relating to students and staff. We are so lucky to have her. The push-in experiences to the classroom are so valuable. All children have access to her. Mrs. Paulson has been great with students and helping educate staff, very helpful. Mrs. Paulson is able to support students in a timely manner and is so responsive to the needs of our building. Mrs. Paulson is such an asset to our building. She jumped right in, is making connections with students, and is helping students in ways that encourage a sense of belonging. Okay, this is also very cute. We celebrated National Bully Prevention Month in October, and part of my lesson for second and third graders was really focused around how they can be an upstander. So I guess this is my creativity coming through. I came up with an upstander chant, and I had every second and third grade class learn it. And then for the sake of this video, I visited each classroom and had them perform one line of the chant and then put it all together, and it resulted in this video, which is pretty short if we want to watch it. Or not.
Okay. Upstander is someone who stands up to bullying. Let's make it loud and clear. Bullying's not okay here. I will notice my heart and mind. And only speak words that are kind. I'll stand up and speak out if I see others mistreated, no doubt. At PC we all belong. All together we are strong. Go Panthers!
So cute. I love them. Anyway, I don't really know where to land after that.
Well, I'll just share that we've had a goal around student belonging for the last several years. And so it just feels like a great fit to have added Mrs. Paulson to our staff to help support that in the different ways that students need it. So we have our regulation stations as a Tier 1 support, access for all. We have her counseling lessons also as a Tier 1 support, access for all. And then certainly she serves students in other ways as needed. And then I'll just end by sharing that she also belongs on our support team, which consists of our social worker, Mrs. Schultz, our dean, Mrs. Schulze, our principal, Mrs. Paul, and now our counselor, Mrs. Paulson. Just feels like a good fit.
It really fits, I will say.
So thanks for having us tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Principal Paul and Mrs. Paulson. Anyone have any comments, questions for them? Yes, Sarah.
This is fantastic. I'm filled with Panther pride. Welcome, by the way. It's so fun to hear when we talk about the importance of having counselors in each one of our buildings and at the elementary school and what that means and how important that investment is. This is exactly it, right? And we saw how Tier 1 interventions show up in different ways in each of those videos. So thank you for bringing student voice into the conversation. I like to ask about horizontal and vertical alignment, right? And so you're doing really incredible work. And then we'll be launching some fifth graders up to the middle school. And this is an exciting time because all of our buildings now have counselors. And so in what ways are you working across the elementary levels? And in what ways are you looking up to the sixth grade, or will you be, right? It's only November, so you don't have to have it done yet, but to make sure that we keep this going horizontally and vertically?
I love that question. I'm a long-term thinker, so I am thinking about middle school transitions already. I am very lucky to work with a really incredible elementary counseling department. We do feel we can say department now that there's one at every building. It's very exciting. And so we meet monthly, and they're always super helpful meetings. And we also do department check-ins every month as well, which are more informal. And that, ironically, that conversation did get brought up at our last meeting of like, how are we preparing our students for 6th grade and what does that transition look like? I'm not explicitly sure what that looks like. I am obviously more familiar with that from the last district that I worked in, but we did work K-12 actually in my last district. And so I do believe that communication is important. I did take some notes. I was a note taker at our last meeting of some things that we want to be sure that we do address with our students. So I was able to hear from counselors that have already been in the district of like what their kids were missing or what they wanted to learn about 6th grade before going there. So then my intention would be collaborating with the middle school counselors and seeing if I believe they're able to come in and present to our 5th graders. But I think our conversation comes around how can we more specifically tailor that to the needs that our students are identifying that they want to know before going to 6th grade. From my understanding, a lot of it in the past has been focused around what specialist classes are offered in 6th grade, but students really want to know things like how to unlock their locker and how to transition between classes and what to do if you feel lost or scared and things kind of like that. So I certainly have that intentionality, and I imagine it will be an intentional conversation as well in our department of how can we partner with middle school counselors and how can we fully get students ready for that transition, because it'll be here before we know it.
I don't really have a question, just wanted to thank you guys for sharing that. Because counselors in all the buildings are fairly new, this is kind of the first opportunity I've had to see what it looks like. And like Sarah said, I appreciated hearing from the students. I mean, we heard a lot of great things, from the students getting to talk to you and see you when times are good, as well as when they might need help with something. And so, and then all the students seemed really comfortable in their ability and access to you, which it's for everyone. It really is. And the student who commented about how even if you're helping a student who's having difficulties, it helps the whole class. When you can help that student listen, like the the student said. So thank you for sharing all that. I mean, it's so important to take care of the whole child. And this is a good example of that. And not just because that's the right thing to do, but because it helps with their learning, which is ultimately what we want as well. So anyway, thank you. And I really appreciated getting to see those details.
So thank you. Seeing all the students and letting them speak their own way was really, really important for us to hear. I was a student in elementary school who required counselor services, and I was taken out of my classroom, plucked out of my classroom, and taken to another space. And that always made me feel a little bit different. And sometimes you don't want to feel different. And so that pushing into the classrooms and having your whole class community doing it that way is really important. And so I appreciate the work that you're doing, and I appreciate that your principal is supporting all of that so deeply. My question is this: it's only been a couple months, but I'm curious to know, have you seen any changes in the classroom when it comes to, because of some of the lessons that the kids have already learned?
I think some of the topics that she is speaking about, it gives more voice to those topics that are really important, and often it doesn't feel like in a classroom you can get to those on account of all the academic work that's happening. And so she's really been able to highlight the work of our second step curriculum and beyond, specifically around bullying, highlighting those regulation strategies so that kids know how to get their needs met quickly. It doesn't require them leaving the classroom as often. When I shared in the presentation that needs were at an all-time high last year, it was really around like kids being dysregulated, which looks a lot of different ways, and us not having the tools to keep them in the classroom ready for learning. And so, of course, there are still students who need additional support, but I would say the addition of these tools has helped keep more kids in classrooms more of the time.
Well, you actually answered my question in the last comment. So I was going to ask you about the all-time needs in 24-25. And so Just wondering, what kind of needs are we talking about here?
They range, right? We have students with academic needs. I think a lot of it is, we're a pretty large school, and we haven't had as many supports as other buildings have had, and that's for a variety of reasons. And so it felt like last year we were doing the work of many with just a few of us. I mean, teachers are dedicated to supporting students with all of their needs. The whole child, like Sheila said, is really important to us at Plymouth Creek, and you can only do so much with what you have. And so it felt like last year, like we just had to get creative. What else can we do to support students when it didn't feel like we had enough people? Adding another person was really important. And more people doesn't always mean more support, but in this case, it really, really did.
Very good. Thank you so much. Right. There are no other comments or questions. Thank you both again. And thank you for all the good work that you do for the kids. First, this one is first. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the audience opportunity to address the board. This section of the agenda provides an opportunity for members of the community to address the school board. Speakers who wish to provide input to the school board must complete the sign-up sheet and return it to our administrative assistant, Amy, who's sitting to my right. I have a few of them here, but if you need to fill out a form, please do so right now. Please note that you will need to complete a request form to be included on the speaker request list. When you are invited to the podium, please identify the subject and/or agenda items to which your comments pertain. Priority will be given to students and families with the students currently enrolled in the district. The school board practice is not to engage in a discussion or debate and the speaker, but rather allow the speaker time to express their thoughts. Please present your comments in a respectful and professional manner. This evening, each speaker will be invited up to the podium to speak for 3 minutes. We have a number of requested speakers, so I ask that you keep your comments brief. Amy will help us keep track of the time by holding up. Is Sheila going to do that? Oh, okay. By holding up a red card at the 3-minute mark. Please end your comments when you see the red card. You don't have it? Okay. We'll figure it out. We'll do it some. Okay. If you have already shared your thoughts with the school board, please consider letting someone new address the board. If a community member shares a message similar to yours, please consider shortening your message or presenting as a group. None of them are students here, right? First one is? Okay, all right. So we'll invite the first speaker this evening. And the topic is bond levy pool. And the name is Emery Marks.
Board Chair, Superintendent Anderson, and board members. My name is Emery Marks, and I'm a junior at Wayzata High School. I'm an athlete who competes in both competitive speed swimming in the fall and synchronized swimming in the spring. I'm here to explain why adding a pool at the high school is important and to express my support for voting it forward as part of the next voter bond levy questions. And I know a number of swimming families are here tonight as well to support it. Right now, our high school teams have to practice off campus. Competitive speed swimming practices at Lifetime Fitness and synchronized swimming practices at West Middle School and sometimes Lifetime as well. While we do hold boys and girls competitive meets at Lifetime, the synchro meets are always at the much older West pool. Having a pool at Wayzata High School would make a huge difference to the swimmers and the quality of our programs. We'd save time, money, and stress, and we could practice in a safe, private environment without strangers constantly walking by and watching us during practice. Getting to these off-campus pools also takes a lot of time and money. Right now, swimmers have to carpool. Carpooling is stressful. 4 or 5 girls crammed into one car, often driven by somebody who just got their license. For those who can't get a ride, it can mean missing part of practice. When I had to take the bus to West for synchro last year, we often didn't even arrive at the pool until around 3:50 to 3:55, even though practice starts at 4, meaning we would often have to start late. Wayzata's middle school pools are among the oldest and most in disrepair pools in our entire conference. West Middle School pool was built in 1957 when West was still Wayzata High School. It has 6 lanes, it's old, dark, and there's not enough bleacher space for when we host synchro meets. East Middle School was built 10 years later in 1967. I have never been in that pool even though I attended East for all my middle school years. While the Lifetime pool is more modern, it is extremely hot and we simply don't have our own space. Practice times are never flexible, and when we practice at Lifetime, we have to deal with strangers watching us and members getting upset that we're using their pool space. Many girls find it very uncomfortable and distracting. I hope that the Wayzata School Board will support the bond levy so that future swimmers can finally have a pool of their own, a space that feels safe, focused, and truly part of Wayzata High School. A pool on campus would give us the consistency, privacy, and sense of pride we deserve, allowing us to represent Wayzata at our best and build a stronger, more connected community. Thank you.
Thank you, Emery. Next, we have Erin Haldeen, who will talk on the topic of building a swimming pool within the district. Did I say that right? Haldeen, right?
Yes, Haldeen, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me here today. I usually would dress a little nicer, but I wanted to support the cause with my Wayzata swimming sweatshirt. So, board members, thank you so much for letting me be here today and talk to you about the importance of building a pool or preferably an aquatic center within the Wayzata School District. I want to tell you a little bit about how swimming has had an impact on my life. I was a club swimmer who started at the age of 7. I went on to swim for Minnetonka High School. After that, I swam at the University of Wisconsin-Madison as a Division I swimmer, and I actually continue to swim for a master's program today. Swimming has taught me dedication, perseverance, commitment, how to win and lose with grace, and it's provided me with a strong work ethic and lifelong friendships. These are skills that have extended far beyond the pool, over my schoolwork as a child, as my career today as an adult, and through my everyday life. My husband and I wanted to put our kids in a swimming program just to keep them safe around the water, and as luck would have it, they fell in love with the sport. And we are grateful that they have learned all of those same skills that I felt like I have learned through swimming. Building an aquatic center will go far beyond the 150 kids who use that pool through boys and girls swimming and our synchro program. You have the potential to reach thousands of people across the community through swim lessons, renting to a club swim team, community open swim, a master's program, triathlon clubs, Special Olympics programs, and adult learn to swim classes. I have participated in every single one of those. Also, it builds, there will be built-in jobs for our high school students as they can become lifeguards, they can teach swimming lessons, and they can possibly coach. As you know, we currently use a Lifetime pool, and Lifetime is shared with the community. People, as Emery said, people are literally roaming around during practice and our swim meets, and it's really uncomfortable for the swimmers, and as a mom, it's uncomfortable for me to see the community members doing this. They're sitting in the sauna, they're watching our girls walk around in their swim meets, and often our coaches have to stop and go address the issue with the community member and ask them to leave. In addition, the pool is hot and has a terrible ventilation system. I had an opportunity to volunteer coach with the team last year, and often the girls would have to go out into the entryway at Lifetime to catch their breath, and that's just simply not acceptable. So Wayzata has a really competitive swimming program. We compete against Edina and Minnetonka, who have beautiful pools. When we want to host a larger meet, we have to rent the pool from Minnetonka, and that's just, again, unacceptable. We had sections meet last week, and our girls did great. They placed first. They're going to state this coming week. We have our boys' season starting soon, and they have national level swimmers on their team. Our synchros team has also won numerous state titles that they should be very proud of. So it's time to build our aquatic center. Thank you very much.
Okay, and then the last speaker is Stephanie Meyer, who will talk on the topic of elementary enrichment program concerns.
Thank you. I think I was meant to be here tonight because my children are at Plymouth Creek, and we have been welcomed by Abigail Wilson so many times. She's fantastic, so I can affirm that recognition for her. Thank you, board, for having me. I would like to share with you some packet work that my son was given today from an enrichment teacher. He's not in an enrichment program, but the enrichment teacher brings down the materials to the classroom because he sits there bored. And if not, he doesn't do packet work, he reads a book. He's rated top 2% of children in the nation. This has been proven by qualitative and quantitative data. And so I have a lot of concerns as a relatively new parent to the district, I'd like to share with you tonight in 5 parts. First, Wayzata Public Schools is misaligned with state and national standards when it comes to elementary enrichment programming, and I'll specifically talk about the pull-out math and reading programs. Wayzata relies solely on FastBridge for gifted identification. This contradicts Minnesota's Department of Education and National Association for Gifted Children standards, which require multiple measures, cognitive assessments, achievement data, and qualitative input to identify advanced learners. This is impacting us by systemically under-identifying children in the district. 2, Wayzata uses FastBridge. It is a test not designed for gifted identification. The Minnesota Department of Education and the University of Minnesota in their technical manuals state that this is not a tool to be used for enrichment identification. It has technical limitations, it has ceiling effects. It is meant as a screening tool to identify the learners that are falling below, not rising above. So Wayzata is using one source, a source not used or indicated for identification. And then 3, there is no opportunity to appeal. When you look at competitive districts, Minnetonka, Edina, Eden Prairie, well-documented, clear procedures on how to request an exception or review. That includes teachers that weigh in. It includes cognitive assessments. It's a really well-rounded process to request, a relook at some of the test scores. So all of this combined, the program's under review. Dana Miller, sitting here today, has represented that it's in process of remodeling. That is fantastic. We need, as parents, updates on what is the timeline, what will be impacted, because our children are sitting here with your gifted and talented instructors running down from one classroom to a next, trying to keep every student busy and challenged and not become disengaged like my son. So excellence for each and every student. I call this board to act swiftly, to put in measures, look at a multitude of inputs, and create an exception process. Every program must recognize, as perfect as it is, it's going to need a review for exceptions. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Stephanie. Okay. Right, then we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, and that is the administrative reports and recommendations. I'll hand it over to Dr. Anderson to walk us through the agenda items.
Thank you, Chair Sahoni and members of the board. I'm going to defer to Amy Geis, our administrative professional who works directly with the elections. So Amy, if you would, please.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson, members of the board. Because I have the microphone, I am going to mention 2 things. First, tomorrow is Veterans Day. So happy Veterans Day to the listening audience, to the veterans I know in the back room, and those of you that are married to veterans. I also want to thank the team that helped me. While I might be the sole election clerk for the school district, this was definitely not a solo mission. So we did employ 57 election judges from all around the city of Plymouth. They did a fantastic job on both Election Day and on absentee early voting. Specifically, I need to call out Michelle, Marcus, and Karen. Karen, I know you're watching. So thank you very much for their dedicated hours and service. The election, frankly, went flawlessly as it did before, and it wouldn't have happened without the team. Also need to thank the election officials from the city of Plymouth. They are instrumental in helping me learn how to do this 2 years ago, and a really great refresher this year. So specifically, Jody, the election clerk for the city of Plymouth, Natalie, and Amy, they know who they are, and I owe you all lunch. So on to business. The first resolution before you is the resolution authorizing the issuance of certificates of election and directing the school district clerk to perform other related duties. The school district general election was held on November 4th, 2025, and voters elected 3 members to the school board for 3-year terms, commencing with the first Monday in January of 2026. The 3 candidates receiving the highest number of votes were Malin Sahoni, Alicia Little, and Heidi Cater. The attached resolution authorizes the clerk to issue the certificates of election once the time of contest of the election has passed and the candidates have filed all required campaign finance reports. All candidates, whether they won or not, are required to return their final campaign finance reports. They're due tomorrow. The recommended action is before you.
Thank you, Amy. So the recommended action is to approve the resolution to issue the certificates of election and direct the school district clerk to perform other related election duties, right? Okay. Is there a motion?
So moved, and I waive second reading.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? I just want to thank, go ahead, Sheila.
Valentina.
Oh, Valentina. Oh, sorry.
Just curious, what percentage, I don't know if you had the chance to calculate, what percentage of voters came?
Of course I had that. I knew you would ask. Actually, I assumed other people would ask. But so the voter turnout on election day was 15.3%. There was 8,303 voters on election day out of the 54,307 registered voters. We did have 147 voters register on election day. So that including the absentee section, we had a turnout of 19.3%, which is actually pretty good when it's only a school board election.
All right, I just wanted to thank Amy. She did not thank herself, but she thanked the election judges. But I want to thank Amy for doing a fantastic job with the election. So thank you so much.
And happy Veterans Day to you too, Amy.
Yes. And okay, so the recommended action is to approve the resolution to issue the certificates of election and direct the school district clerk to perform other related election duties. This will be a roll call vote.
Heidi Cater.
Yes.
Valentina Ayers.
Yes.
Dan Ginestra.
Yes.
Sarah Johansson.
Yes.
Horace Bende.
Yes.
Sheila Pryor. Yes. Malin Sahoni.
Yes, the motion carries. Okay, so we have one more recommendation.
That's correct. We do need to pass the resolution canvassing the return of votes for the school district general election. The school district election, as you know, took place on November 4th to elect 3 board members to the school board. The 3 candidates receiving the highest number of votes are elected to the board for 3-year terms, effective the first Monday of January. The 3 candidates who received the most votes are Malin Sahoni with 4,776 votes, Alicia Little, 4,693 votes, and Heidi Cater, 4,332 votes. I will note that you all did receive write-in votes as well. Those don't count.
All right, thank you, Amy. So the recommended action is to approve the resolution canvassing returns of votes of the district's general election. Is there a motion?
I move and I waive the second reading.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there a discussion? I just want to thank all the candidates, each and every candidate that ran this election. It is a tough campaign, and I appreciate the effort that everybody put into this. And I think it's all good for the district, for the students, that these candidates have so much passion to run. So I really appreciate that. Okay, the recommended action again is to approve the resolution canvassing returns of of votes of the district's general election. This is a roll call vote again.
Valentina Ayers,
Yes.
Dan Ginestra,
Yes.
Sarah Johansson,
Yes.
Paris Bende,
Yes.
Sheila Pryor, yes. Heidi Cater,
Yes.
Milan Sahoni.
Yes, the motion carries. Thank you, Sheila. I believe we have a policy approval next, Chase.
Yes, Mr. Chair and members of the board, we have one policy for your review and approval for this evening. The policy is 803, Crisis Management. The policies and regulations were reviewed as part of the regular review cycle, and using the Minnesota School Board Association model policy where available as our normal protocol with the policy committee of the school board. And by district administration and other district stakeholders where necessary. A final review was completed by the policy committee of the school board. The policy and regulations are included in the board packet, and the recommended action for policy 803, crisis management, is before you. I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson. So the recommended action is to approve the policy as presented. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And you waive the second.
And I waive the second reading.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Paras. Any discussion? Hearing none. Oh, Valentina, sorry.
Just wanted to share with community in future, if you'll see any policies which you have interest in, what is nice nowadays that you will be able to see redlined version, and then you can come to school board and share your inputs.
Yes, Sheila.
I just wanted to say, because we went over this, I'm on the policy committee, and this particular policy, there weren't many changes. It was mainly just language updates. So just wanted to put that out there to make sure everybody's aware.
Okay, so all right. So if there are no more discussion, the recommended action is to approve the policy as presented. Again, this is a roll call vote.
Sheila Pryor, yes. Heidi Cater,
Yes.
Valentina Ayers,
Yes.
Dan Ginestra,
Yes.
Sarah Johansson,
Yes.
Paris Bende,
Yes.
Milan Sahoni.
Yes, the motion carries. Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda. Executive Director of Teaching and Learning, Dana Miller, will give the board an update on the enrichment review. Dana?
Thank you, members of the board. I'm going to invite up our team that is leading the enrichment review. So with us tonight, we have Sarah Winans and Ann Fehrenbach as teaching and learning coordinators, as well as Austin Tollerson, our Director of Teaching and Learning, who is leading that. And then we also have here tonight Dr. Stacy Lackner, our Research and Evaluation Director, and Aubrey Brar, who is our Director of Teaching and Learning in our math and STEM areas. And then I will be here, obviously, as well to answer questions if needed at the end. Thank you. And also, as a reminder, you also should have received about a week ago an email from us as well with an update. So this will be in connection with that tonight. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. Sorry, now the computer turned back on and logged into. Thank you, Chair Sahoni, members of the board, Dr. Anderson, and our executive team for having us here tonight. An opportunity to share some updates and a review of kind of where we're at in the process, what the enrichment review is, and some of some mid-course corrections that or adjustments we're looking at this time in our year. So we're going to start with sort of an orientation to, thank you. Click through dots. Orientation is what we've, some of the things we've shared about, the program review, some of our planned adjustments at this time in our process, and some response to some community feedback we've had about our enrichment program and some of the criteria adjustments that we made for fall of 2025. So as you might remember, we started in the spring, prompted by a need to respond to our attendance area changes. realizing we had some students who might be shifting schools. And an opportunity just to look at some consistencies across our district. We wanted to ensure that zip code wasn't a determiner of our access to enrichment services, and that didn't determine the type of services or experiences that our students might have. So we looked at a criteria and selection process that we wanted to be implement by fall of 2025. Had to look a little bit at what and how looked like, what was our process, and decisions we made to get to that. We took some steps to launch a review to support that enrichment program and to take a deeper look at that throughout the course of this year. And then we wanted to focus again on some of those specific needs and plan changes to implement a criteria for fall of 2025. Sorry, I gotta make sure I'm pushing the right buttons here. A look at an overview of the purpose of a program review, and some of you have experience in other areas that we've done, reading and math, but just to refresh your memory on some of the things we look at, alignment to our systems is the overall objective. We want to make sure it's research-based. It aligns with implementation of new curriculum resources and standards, and that we're analyzing best practices not only of our current state, but an ideal state that we might look forward to in any program outcomes. To reorientate you to the 4 phases of a review, we have envision and assess, plan and develop, implement, evaluate, and adjust. And in any program review, you might have different elements that are going through those phases. So while that's an overarching look of how a review might look, for instance, in our case, we went through this phase with our implementation of the identification criteria for the fall, and we're starting to, so we had to go through all 4 phases of that in order to implement those changes. And while the greater portion of that review, we might have started back in phase 1 in this fall, looking at curriculum implementation and design. Brief history of enrichment in Wayzata. So prior to 2017-18, it was actually called the Vision 21 program. Some of you might still see elements at our website as we look to switch over that still reference that Vision 21. That was a model of services that included reading and math. The identification had multiple measures of achievement tests, COGAT, and classroom behavior scales. The COGAT is a cognitive achievement test or aptitude test, and that identification criteria targeted the top 10%. That was a district based on district-wide criteria. We had programs like the Young Scholars that looked to provide opportunities for underrepresented groups. In 2017-2018, the program went through an adjustment and shifted to what we now know as advanced academics and seminar. Advanced academic students' primary qualification was on an achievement test, again targeting the top 10%. They shifted at that time to building-based norms, so it would have been the top 10% in a building as opposed to district-wide. And then seminar qualification was based on the cognitive aptitude test, and that was a district-wide criteria based on national percentiles. So if you look at the difference between those two, advanced academics in grades 2 through 5. And this, as you think of gifted and talented, advanced academics is that talented side of the house, so to speak. So it's based on the achievement test. It's a specific content focus in either reading or math. And students could receive one or the other based on an independent identification. In seminar grades 4 and 5, seminars can focus on a variety of topics, social emotional learning, critical thinking skills, problem solving skills. And again, that is more of like the gifted side of the house. So you think about that COGAT, the cognitive aptitude test, being the qualification for that. And that has multiple modes of measurement there within it, a nonverbal, a verbal, and a quantitative reasoning portion of that test. So it's been about 8 years, about every 7 to 10 years in any given content area. We look to review our programming to make sure, again, we're keeping up with best practices and looking at how our system that fits within the needs of our system and meeting our outcomes. Again, the attendance area changes in 25-26 prompted us a need to look at how we're identifying so that we could be assured that each and every student in each and every building, regardless of where they landed based on zip code, was getting similar or consistent services. And at the time, we couldn't confidently say that. We had some different modes of identification building to building. And we had, based on some local responsiveness, we had different curriculum implementation or different cycles going on in different buildings. We gathered our building and executive leadership team and decided to do a reevaluation of our program, leading into an overall program review with the priority task of having, by the start of fall of 2025, a new identification criteria ready to be implemented. We had our committee included enrichment specialists, principals, and teaching and learning representatives. We began meetings in the spring of 24-25 to look deeply at data, and a lot of support from Stacy Lackner and her research and evaluation team to really take a deep dive into that data. And spring through the summer, our focus then was on that identification criteria. Again, glad to click both buttons here. So as you look at that phase of program review, we've talked through some of that in how that looked in enrichment. I want to invite Ann and Sarah to share a little bit how that relates to their experience as we bring them into the process here in the fall to really truly look at an overall program review. Again, how we focus on those best practices and some experiences of theirs related to how they've led that work in other content areas.
Thanks, Austin. So you probably have seen this before, right? This is this phase review process. We've used this in many situations. I was proud and excited to be part of a program review around reading. I think, Sarah, you might be the only one that was around then. Chase, you too. But we went through this same process in reading and in math. Anytime there's a through that cycle, usually we go through that, and it's just such a great process. I think that phase one, really envisioning and assessing, that's the part that we're really, that's where it gets really exciting to zoom out and think about possibilities and really think about aligning things with our vision, our strategic directions, and what that looks like in today's world, because things change in education. So phase one is really exciting. Phase two, based on what we learn, we get to think about research, best practices, things like that. So it's a really exciting process, and we're just at the very beginning of it in terms of the broader program review. Certainly the criteria piece has been through a phase, is going through phases, and the other parts of this are really just starting. So it's a really exciting process.
I'll just add that we are, from the math perspective, we've been in phase 4 for a while, and there are new math standards that were approved in the spring. And so it's really exciting that we're launching that phase 1 work now, K-12, and really thinking about what student experience and learning should look like for math, which makes the alignment with this enrichment review also great timing.
All right, thanks for sharing that perspective. So look at, again, the work in progress. And I've talked through a lot of this. I won't belabor too much on this slide, just to call to the kind of outline exactly what that identification criteria was for the fall of 2025 that we implemented for advanced academics. And again, that was using the FastBridge test, so that was the achievement test we used, and identify the 97th percentile or above on 2 of the 3 last math or reading opportunities. Again, with the help of Stacy and our team, we really looked at what are the percentage of students relative to those scores in our district. We started looking even at like the 90th percentile and above. And in our district, grades 2 through 5, to give you an idea, in math, we have about 38% of our students who would qualify at the 90th percentile and above. And even at the 97th percentile or above, grades 2 through 5, we have about 16% of our students. In reading, if you were the 90th percentile, it would be about 21% of our students. And at the 97th percentile, we're still at about 8% of our reading students. When you look at a program service or a pull-out service model, you really think about, similar to an RTI model, it's about that 5% of your students who you really feel if you're going to pull them out of a classroom, it's those students who truly are at that exceptional level. I think Stacy referenced nationwide, it's like 3 to 6% is kind of the window of where you see national best practices landing. And so really that was kind of our shooting for about 5%. Again, much above the 97th percentile, we felt was a little too limiting. So though we're still probably high on that math side of the number of students who might be identified for a pull-out program, we hesitate to take it any higher than that as far as not only the specificity of the tool above the 97th percentile, but also in limiting those opportunities for our students. So again, as we get into the fall of 25-26, we'll continue the review of the rest of that program, including that curriculum design phase, starting with advanced academics.
So one of the things that we're working on right now is our curriculum in the enrichment program. As you know, thank you. As you know, we're very committed to the PLC process in Wayzata, the professional learning communities. And one of the foundational pieces of a PLC is a guaranteed and viable curriculum. So we are, in the past, enrichment curriculum wasn't always consistent across the buildings. There was a lot of similarity, but there was things being taught at different times and things like that. So we are working to enhance that consistency so that we can really lean into that PLC process in terms of advanced academics. That helps enhance not only student learning, but teacher practices as well. And we're doing that across the district, right? That's part of our work as a system to support that PLC process. So what we've been doing is making some adjustments in the curriculum to using a checklist to create that guaranteed and viable curriculum. Sarah and I will talk a little bit more about what that looks like in reading math in just a minute. But we're also working to really ensure that alignment, like Austin mentioned, across the model of supports with our MTSS model.
Along with that alignment with across buildings, we're also really looking at that alignment with the general education classroom. And so as part of that, really working on aligning the curriculum for enrichment to the standards. And so, we've been working on implementing the ELA standards for a few years, and we have the new math standards. And so we're really trying to connect that work. We've also invited some elementary classroom teachers to join us in this process, again, to ensure that alignment with Tier 1. And then also really thinking about connecting to the resources that I'm going to talk about for math specifically. So one really exciting implementation that we're doing this year in math is a program called Concept Quest. It's a component of our Bridges curriculum. And I think a couple of you maybe tried a problem with me a year or two ago and will probably acknowledge it was very challenging. And it really is an enrichment for all resource. And so we want to ensure access for all students to this. Really rigorous math thinking and problem solving. And the enrichment specialists have really helped partner in that work. They've been excellent collaborators. They have created some mini lessons to help launch those in our classrooms. They've done observations of each other to really ensure that looks similar across buildings. And they've also organized that resource onto a Google site to really ensure easy access. Kind of a fun story about that is that we've trained classroom teachers on Concept Quest, we've trained the enrichment specialists, and then Becca Osby, who's the secondary math specialist, and I also got to train our high school mentors on how to use them and how to ask students really great questions when they're doing those to keep the thinking with the elementary students. And a second grade teacher told me that the day the enrichment specialist came to launch them, the high school volunteer was also there. And so it was just a really great example of how we can engage across our system in providing really rigorous and enriching math opportunities. The other work that we have done so far in math this fall is the team has worked on revising an existing problem solvers unit, and they are working on teaching that right now. And then for our future work, we are proposing a new data analysis unit for grades 3 through 5 that aligns well with trends that we see in our MCA data, and then also bridging to our new standards. And again, we're really thinking about how we can ensure the alignment with Bridges and Tier 1 pedagogy for math.
And in the area of reading, similarly, really looking at the 2020 standards, which are in full implementation right now. So we, with the team, chose one of the existing high interest units at each grade level, 3, 4, 5, to revise those to align more closely to the standards, and then to also infuse some of our culturally responsive protocols that align with our Tier 1 instruction as well. And then in the future, our next step is to look at designing some new book club units aligned with the Tier 1 pedagogy to extend that learning for our students, and then just to continue to unpack those standards and align, and the MCA performance descriptors that have just come out for the new MCAs, to ensure that our curriculum is supporting some really rigorous instruction and student growth in the area of reading as well.
All right. Now we'll talk a little bit about how we got to some planned adjustments here that we're looking at implementing as early as this winter, depending on logistics and some further feedback that we'll be getting from our enrichment specialists and our principal teams. As we talked about earlier with the identification criteria, we had to move further along in the phases of that in order to meet our fall implementation. And when we went to that district-wide criteria identification, again, the 97th percentile in FastBridge, and considering that trend, we knew that we might have some adjustments and some implementation or want to be responsive to some things we learned through implementation. So we really are with that now, and that evaluate and adjust. Some of the things we've taken a deep look at, along with the feedback of some of our specialists and community, is really how does that multiple measures apply and align with our board policy. And if you look at the enrichment program as a whole, when we designed the identification criteria, we do have multiple measures in the sense that we have a gifted and talented with the advanced academics and the seminar. The COGET in and of itself is a multiple measure, test of multiple measures, and the achievement base for the advanced academics based on the FastBridge is another layer of that measurement and access point for students. But based on some feedback, we do see an opportunity to add another layer to the advanced academics as well by partnering it with the use of our COGET testing. So we see an advantage to adding that layer, and we'll talk a little bit more about that here as we look at some next steps. Again, we're gathering some additional feedback. The timeline for that will hopefully be potentially as early as this winter to add that layer for some of our families. So look at some of the proposed changes. Again, I've got to click both slides here. We would be looking at adding a layer of that COGET for a additional layer of evidence for our students who are what we might call near qualifying. So if you think about a student who might have had one of their scores in the 97th percentile in FastBridge, and when we look at the 2 of 3, maybe another one of the scores within a standard error of measurement. So might have just missed that qualification for advanced academics due to only having one of the scores in the 97th percentile. For those students, we would offer to use COGAT as an additional layer. So if that student qualified, 4th and 5th grader will have already taken the COGAT test. So if their COGAT score was also a qualifying score, right now it's a composite score of 130 or a score in any of the domains of 135 or higher, then that would be a potential to qualify for also advanced academics. And then we would also have a reconsideration process, so an appeals process for students who maybe didn't have a score in the 97th percentile, but all 3 of their scores are within a standard error of measurement. So think of the student who might have had a 96th percentile, 96th percentile, 96th percentile, or even 93rd, 95th. I'm not sure exactly how low the SEM goes in it, and it varies for math or reading. But so an appeals process for those families who could also ask to have the COGAT considered as a part of a layer for that advanced academics. Again, for 4th and 5th grade, those are systems and testing logistics we already have in place, and we would have to be thoughtful about what that looks like for 2nd and 3rd graders. The testing is available, but then we have to determine who would give the test and what's the appropriate timing for those grades. And then an additional consideration for proposed change would be moving to an annual identification cycle. Currently, we use it 2 out of 3, and we include the fall of the current year as part of the qualification criteria, which of course means we have to wait until after testing is complete and all the data is validated and made official by our data research and evaluation team, which then means after that comes notification to families, invites, and scheduling for our students. If we did within an annual year, use the fall, winter, and spring for determination for the following year, so that going into that year we could be prepared with some of those decisions already made. And with that, we'll take questions or comments.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody have Parash? Yeah.
I have few, so I'll go with one and we can rotate. So thanks for the details. And Vision 21, obviously, that's the term that I'm most familiar with.
Sure.
And I was trying to follow. So when I look at my daughters, when they went through Vision 21, there were different, MCAs and whatever was available at that time. There were different criterias being looked at every year. And I still remember one time, my older one didn't get into reading, but she got into next year. And then math, she was consistent. So there was like every year, different criteria is being looked at. So did we move away from that at some point in time? And are we now going back to have those multiple criterias?
Not to that extent. So I don't. Stacy might want to speak a little bit more to about history issues.
Sure. So yeah, a few years ago, we had a review and we looked at all of our criteria. So it has changed over the years. And so you may be talking about a situation, like you said, where you had one child who qualified one year, then we changed the criteria so they didn't qualify the next year. So what we try to do is we try to make sure that we're consistent. So if we're making any changes, we're very, it's a slow rollout. So we're not making changes for the entire program. And that may have been the situation that you are describing.
No, I think, so where I'm trying to get at is, so did we relax the criteria and we are now going back and making it more comprehensive?
So previously,
didn't follow. So
it's okay. Previously, we had district-wide criteria, and then in 2017-18, we changed to a building-based criteria. So it included a lot of additional information that was collected individually at each building. So this change, we're doing a district-wide criteria so that there is, so the identification is the same at each building, and it doesn't matter which building you go to, it's the same criteria for all students.
Okay. And the expected outcome is, of course, not just look at the one measurement, but look at more than one measurement. And again, it's district-wide. So the expected outcome is what? Is it going to get more difficult to get into enrichment program? Is it going to get easier? Like, how would you characterize that?
It's difficult to say. We're reviewing all of the criteria to see, what are the needs of our program review and what are the types of data that we have available to us. So it's difficult to say if it'll be making the program larger or smaller. I think that's more the review process and discussing with our teaching and learning team. But in terms of the criteria, we have to go through the review process first to determine whether it's going to make it more difficult or...
Okay, yeah, and where I'm heading is I'm just trying to understand what would be the outcome, right? So great that every building will follow the same criteria, but how comprehensive that criteria is, and are we really identifying, I'll call it the top 3 percentile, if you will, right, through that program? That's where I was trying to understand, like, how are we making sure that these criterias are solid, nationally recognized, and we know that we're going to get, top of the crowd, if you will, in that enrichment program, so we can focus on those high performers, if you will.
Yeah, so right now, this fall, we use the FastBridge 97th percentile, looking at 3 different administrations. So we looked at winter, spring, and fall for all of our students. So we do have that data where we're doing multiple data points. It's just one type of data. We're using achievement tests. So we know that if we're using the 97th percentile nationally, that's the top 3%. But in our district, we have found that we have 16% of students who qualified for the math services based on that criteria. And I think for reading, we're at about 7% of our students in that 97th percentile and above. Does that answer your question?
I think also, if I can add, the goal of the review is not to put more kids in or put less kids in. That's not the goal. The goal is to really make sure that we're consistent across the district, so that if I move, and we've had that situation where a kid moves and they may be in it in one building and not in another, or vice versa, and especially if we're using percentages of students, then it's by luck of the draw. Is your kid in a class that has a higher percentage or a lower percentage, and that when you get in? And so that needs to be consistent. And then our enrichment program has both an academic component, the advanced academics, and it has the seminar piece. So we're using multiple measures for our enrichment program, but we really do believe that we need that extra measure and opportunity at the academic part as well as at the seminar part. So that's really what we're doing. If we did follow the recommendation of the top 3%, we would actually be raising our cut score way above the 97th, 98th. And we have chosen, as we know, Wayzata has a very high performing student body. And so we have a large percentage of students who even at that 3% qualify. And we want to honor that despite the fact that it's in Wayzata, right? It also requires us, if I might, to say what Sarah and both Ann were getting at is when we have the percentage of kids we do in the 90th percentile and above in our classrooms, we have to make sure that our tier 1 instruction in our classrooms is enriched, because our classrooms are enriched. And so it's really critical that our teachers get those skills. So that we don't have students setting board in classrooms, because that's on a teacher responsibility. We should not be having that. And so we need to figure out how we support the teacher in the classroom to make sure that students are not sitting to that level.
Okay. So more comprehensive, I'll call it, selection criteria, consistent across all buildings. Again, I'll call it industry standard, if you will. So that makes sense. And then what about once, kids are in enrichment? And again, I couldn't quite put finger on it. So are we making changes to the program itself? So what the curriculum we teach and how we teach? I think there was one example given in the slide. So can you elaborate that portion? How are we changing the actual both math and reading enrichment program itself?
Yeah, and I'll, again, can invite Ann and Sarah to speak more specifically to the work. This fall, we've started with looking at just bringing in the level of consistency. So the first thing we did this fall was to designate a math and reading unit at each grade level, so that all buildings are working on the same unit, working on some of those classroom connections, so connections to where does the classroom level of rigor meet the benchmark, and then where do we in our enrichment programs take on the learning from there, hitting the advanced levels of rigor for our students in those enrichment programs, building on models that we use in Tier 1, so things like book clubs in our elementary schools, and the concept quests and some other curricular models that we have in our math instruction. And where can we as a program then build from there?
Yeah, and maybe last question. Obviously, I've seen students taking pride in it when they get elected for enrichment, right? Obviously, those are talented kids. How do we ensure that they don't get discouraged, right? Again, and I've seen kind of both examples where people in the group or kids in the group, they really help each other and they are super excited, and that reflects. But then you have, certain individuals who are really smart, and then they feel like, oh, I got to go now 2 steps below, even though if I'm in the enrichment program, because now I have to be consistent across. So how do you make sure that we don't discourage anyone? And if there is a talent that requires maybe more challenging work, we kind of figure it out how to encourage them. Can you sort of tell us about it? Like, how do we make sure that top talent is not
Yeah, I think maybe an anecdotal story that one of our enrichment specialists shared earlier in our program review was talking about an experience with a student who maybe was feeling and sensing that challenge for the first time, and some emotions started to run, and the kind of I can'ts came in. I hadn't experienced that level of failure before, and our enrichment specialists are amazing at just connecting with those students and recognizing that kind of social emotional need of those students who are maybe experiencing some of those challenges the first time. So they're very adept at kind of pushing those students to their level of challenge, helping them build that rigor, helping them build that grit, so to speak, right, toward addressing that challenge and building on those skills. So I think that's part of the goal and outcomes of a program is to help our students work through those levels of challenge.
Yeah. And as long as we have that feedback mechanism so we can identify and take corrective actions, that will be great. And again, one last thank you. I mean, like I said, both my daughters, they were both in math and reading throughout elementary, and they loved it, especially working together as a group and kind of, help each other. And there are always like those stronger personalities that are wrong, but then somebody has to speak up and say, hey, I think this is the right answer. So that taught them really life lessons, how to work in the team and not just solve the problem, but speak up when you think it's the right thing. So again, those were some of the things we were hearing from our daughters and our sort of, other students. So thank you. It was really great experience for us.
Yeah, great, fantastic. Thank you.
I would like some clarifications here. As if right now we're using FastBridge, free data points from FastBridge for math and reading. And for enrichment for seminar, we're using COGAT results, correct? In the past, what did we use? Like, to be honest, we joined Wayzata in 2017, I believe. So I was thinking, I don't remember that my kids had to take, since we joined later, but I will give a credit. Wayzata said, you're supposed to take tests too, so because everybody has a chance. I did not realize that they're supposed to retake tests every year to qualify. I felt like once kids qualified, they stayed.
So that might be the difference between the seminar and the advanced academics. So advanced academics, since 2017-18, it was an annual requalification with a winter entry point is 2 for some students who might be there if they showed that aptitude on the FastBridge and the winter score. Our enrichment specialist might work to include them from the winter on. But seminar has been, as you mentioned, like you take it in the 4th grade, and then once you qualified, you don't need to requalify in the 5th grade, even through middle school.
So you don't need to requalify again?
Not for seminar, correct.
Interesting. And also a clarification I would like to hear. I believe in the past, at least again, if my memory will be correct, it was Vision 21. Kids were pulled out 2 times for 45 minutes each, which means per week it'll be 90 minutes. I mean, depending obviously if you qualify for reading, math, but it is 90 minutes. Nowadays, I believe the update I got from elementary teacher, it's 30 minutes, which means if you do math, a kid is losing 30 minutes a week.
Twice a week, though. So our math and reading both are twice a week, and seminars once a week.
Yeah, my point is, if it was in the past 45 minutes twice a week, it is 90 minutes per week. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, it is 2 times 30 minutes, which means 60 minutes. So a kid effectively is losing 30 minutes of enrichment chances compared what it used to be.
Yeah, or gaining 30 minutes in Tier 1 instruction as well. So we see those working together when we talk about like our systems of support. One of the reasons we talk about that so strongly in that Tier 1 connection is we really do see that as a continuation. We wouldn't expect any of our students, and part of our enrichment program isn't to think that the only opportunity for enrichment or challenge or thought from, like if you're meeting on Tuesday and Thursday in math, is that those are the only 30-minute times of the day that you're being enriched. And that whether it's 30 minutes, 60 minutes, or 90 minutes a week in enrichment, that learning doesn't continue. There's connective tissue in between. There's things that they're connecting with the classroom, so that there's some of the skills that we're taking and learning in enrichment that can actually enrich their entire math experience. Again, enrichment teachers also connect closely with classroom teachers, so that our teachers are seeing how to support those students for the rest of their week and not just the moments they're in a pull-out experience.
I understand, but at the same time, I'm kind of I'm working at school too, and what I've seen lately, when you have limited amount, sometimes even 5 minutes, pulling out kids through hallways, you feel, oh, I lost already 5 minutes of mine. In my case, it's 30 minutes too. I'm doing as an interventionalist. And it feels like I am drill sergeant, almost like, because I have to bring progress, but at the same time, it feels like you don't have an opportunity to connect with kids. And when it used to be 45 minutes, I can sense at least it is full lesson opportunity versus when it is 30 minutes. I'm wondering how difficult it is for an enrichment teacher to have that connection with our gifted and talented students, and also to give the same, just pulling out 2 times for 30 minutes versus, for example, if you are saying about we're given equal, if students need help, students can be pulled out 3 times, or if they need, I'm talking about as intervention, sometimes even you have to pull out 5 times. So in this case, it feels disbalanced. And to be honest, I also had one family who belonged to Wayzata who decided not to because they felt it was not enough, and they chose to go somewhere else. I would like to hear what can we do so that our gifted and talented students can still also be being heard, being challenged, and for them it can be also fun, and they have enough time to connect with a gifted and talented teacher. By the way, I would like to say thank you, because our gifted and talented teacher from Vision 21 from years ago, right here, she taught my oldest kids. And they were coming and sharing some things which I never heard at charter school. So I would like our kids, younger kids, to have the same opportunity right now. And what's the plan so that these kids would have, so that we can have, if there is not enough time, or one specialist is not enough, can we do something that our gifted and talented students are also being supported?
Yeah, I think I would just say that our vision for those outcomes are the same, and that's part of our program review, and time is one of those things we'll have to continue to consider as we look at our review process.
If I can clarify one more thing, but you said you're going to be adding 1 layer of COGAT test. If you're going to be doing every year, is it going to be different type of COGAT test? How does it?
So the COGAT test really shouldn't be given every year. Typically, the most it would be given is every 2 years. We used to do 2nd and 4th grade, but we moved to 4th grade. So I don't anticipate we would be doing an entire grade level beyond 4th grade, unless that comes out of the review process. The Fast Bridge test we do give 3 times a year. So those would be the multiple administrations. But typically students are screened once in Wayzata in 4th grade on the COGAT. But again, that's part of the review, and we'll be looking into, all of the different possibilities, and it may be including, like was proposed, maybe having a smaller group of students take the COGAT in 2nd and 3rd grade, depending on whatever adjustments to the identification process are made.
Right, so the second and third grade layer would be just for those students who are either the near qualifying or within an SEM on 3 of their test. So we wouldn't be giving that as a grade-wide assessment. It would be just in response to the small populations of students who are within one SEM with one qualifying score or within one SEM on all 3 of their scores. And then as Dr. Leichner said, in the 4th grade, that we would, considering development level, if a student took it in the 2nd grade, that would be where we would have them taken again with the entire 4th grade class as that separate qualification for seminar, as opposed to the second layer for advanced academics if it was a 2nd or 3rd grade student.
Yeah, if I can ask one more thing about feedback, actually. I am very grateful to, I hope that since I'm praising this teacher, I can say her last name. No? Okay, she will recognize it, I guess. My son joined the 4th grade at Plymouth Creek, and the night before she shared the examples of COGAT tests. So that allowed my kids to see how it looked like actually. And I believe truly that's what they helped them also to understand what kind of type of test to expect. And I think it would be nice for students before you're given that test, just to give some sort of a how does it look like, so that the students who never done it can have equal opportunity. Because first time when we tried, we were surprised, even with a higher 99 percentile, we didn't qualify, 99 percentile. So, but at the same time, I don't have anything, any grudge to say one of them already was recognized. I think that he proved himself, that he deserved. But I would like our students, if they never done anything like that at their households, but they happen to be bright for math or reading, if they will have a chance to see examples of COGAT tests so that they know how to do it. Thank you.
Well, I have no questions, so thank you so much for coming and providing us all the data, and wish you continued success in what you do.
Thank you.
All right, next we have finance reports, and Executive Director of Finance and Operations, Trevor Peterson, will present a resolution relating to a special election. Trevor.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I might suggest maybe I give a little bit of introductory background that might be helpful to sort of set the stage for what we're going to be hearing here from Trevor Peterson.
Dr. Anderson, maybe I might want to interrupt.
Oh, yeah.
We have another agenda item first, I believe.
Oh,
that's right.
Sorry, I did not have that. See that? Okay.
Yeah.
Must have been added afterwards. Yeah.
So.
Go ahead.
All right. Good evening, Chair Sahoni, Dr. Anderson, members of the board. Tonight, first we're going to bring forward the financial reports. This report is through the end of September. We're starting to see a little more activity, both revenue and expenditures for the most part. And looking at where we are as a percentage of budget compared to previous years, we are certainly in line with what we might expect. Some of the outliers, other than the normal things that we might see, we're starting to see some uptick in our state aids that we receive. We have not yet received any property tax revenue through September. Those will start in October, November. So the next few months, you will see some of those coming in. But all in all, we are currently at, for the general fund, 8.6% of our total budgeted revenue for the general fund, compared to 8.5% and 8.9% the previous 2 years. So again, right in line with where we might expect to be. Moving on to the expenditures, there are a couple things to point out. Again, a lot of the timing timing. Some of these expenditures varies from year to year. For example, we might get some supplies and materials the end of August, 1 month or 1 year, maybe the beginning of September the following year. So from month to month, it might look a little bit differently. But a few things to point out as the expenditures are concerned. You will see the food service fund has expended a considerable more amount of their percent to budget through September as previous years. That is the planned expenditure for the facility upgrades at the high school for the serving line. So that is certainly what we would expect that to be. And the community service fund, that's currently at 28.6% of annual budget of expenditures compared to 19.4 and 18.9 the previous 2 years. We have seen a considerable increase in both the summer as well as the school year child care program. So both the revenue and expenditures for the community service fund have increased due to that program. Otherwise, like I said, everything else is pretty well in line with what we might expect to see. With nothing else to report, I guess I would open that up for any questions. Otherwise, ask that we move along to the next agenda item.
I have a quick question. So community ed has increased spend, which tells me that's good news, right? Because we have more space and we have more ability for students within the district to access those services. Is that a correct understanding?
That is correct. And I believe I talked to Jenny earlier today, and I think the number that she gave me was an increase of about 250 students in that childcare program. So correct. Sometimes a increase in expenditures represents a good thing. And in this case, that would be the situation here.
That's great news.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
All right, no more questions. So let's move on to the recommended action. You wanted to say something, right?
Yeah, I'll just share a couple introductory comments here that I think kind of set the tone a little bit. We'll let Trevor and team, whoever else might be invited up to offer assistance, cover a lot of the technical aspects of the agenda item and action item that's before you tonight. So we've been working on this chapter of facilities for at least 3 to 5 years, more intensely in the last year or two. Halfway through my 18th year here in the district, I think we've never not been working on facilities during that entire time. We've worked closely with our strategic partners, Kraus Anderson and Wold Architects and Engineers, for the entire time that we've been focusing on our projects throughout the district. And we have here tonight with us Sal Bagley from Wold Architects and Engineers and John Hunick from Kraus Anderson. We've also worked closely with our district staff and our principals, all of our leadership team within the district, and they've worked closely with those that are in their buildings or within their programs to collect feedback and utilize that information as we've packaged facilities recommendations along the way. So also here tonight is John Deutsch, our Director of Facilities and Transportation. He's been integrally involved with this process. We've taken a look at 3 sets of data, really, in regards, and we could argue a 4th because we've also taken a look at our internal data points in regard to projected growth within the district, and have built a facilities plan according to how we feel we can best meet the needs of the community and be ready with appropriate facilities in order to accommodate that student growth. Recently, we've had meetings with the City of Medina. As the board knows, and many listeners will know, we have property in the City of Medina that's large enough for both an elementary and a middle school. That'll be our next frontier, and part of what we're going to be recommending a next step for this evening is possible expansion of our facilities in order to accommodate that next wave of growth that we're anticipating in the future. In the past 10 to 15 years, we've opened 2 elementary schools, an early learning school. We've done a high school addition. We've added classrooms to many of our elementaries, also to our middle school sites. And we anticipated growth and many years ago, 10, 12, 15 years ago, and we responded with new facilities to accommodate that growth. So we have, a bit of a challenge. It's hard to have a perfect crystal ball to know exactly how enrollment is going to grow into the future and exactly where. And that's been a little bit of a challenge for us, but I think that's always part of the facilities plan in any district. But I would say we felt some of the same before we built Meadow Ridge and Northwoods. It was anticipated that we were going to experience some significant growth, which we did. And frankly, it would be really hard for me to envision right now where those 1,700 elementary kids that are currently in those two buildings would be if we didn't have those two buildings. So I'm thankful for the team members and the school board action, our strategic partners who helped us prepare for opening those buildings. I think in 2015 was Meadow Ridge, and 2019 or 20, I think, was Northwoods. We are getting closer to that point, as we heard from our demographer who was in, where we're going to hit that equilibrium point, but it's a number of years out into the future yet, and we have quite a lot of growth yet that's going to happen before we're at that point. I would suggest that the facilities package that is under consideration and that's brought here tonight for you to authorize us to move on to the next step, which I'll let folks that are more well-versed on the details of that present that information. But I think we could say that with this package, it includes, just in quick summary and not all inclusive, but an elementary school, a middle school, a high school addition, functional kitchens in our schools that currently don't have kitchens that can actually prepare food. We have kitchens or schools yet that we transport food to. Cafeteria expansions were necessary, so physical education spaces and athletics spaces, special education spaces that can best meet the needs of our students. So those are kind of a sampling of the projects. You got a more detailed report at our most recent work session with all of the different areas that we've been looking at. And while it's difficult to predict perfectly how the community is going to continue to grow and exactly how many students we're going to kind of hit that equilibrium point with, I think this package of facilities, it's possible, could carry us through the finish line. Now, I say that somewhat hesitantly because I think at some point, if we do build this 10th elementary school now or during this chapter of facilities, I could see the possibility that there may be a day way down the road where we would need an additional elementary school, but it's really hard to predict that. But I do think that this package of facilities that are being presented for consideration and possibly moving forward with is really going to help us accommodate the great majority of what I would anticipate our school district would continue to grow to. As you know, we crossed the 13,000 student, K-12 student threshold this year. I've kind of thought in the back of my mind for many years that mark of about 14,500 or maybe somewhat shy of 15,000 students will get us pretty close to what I think the available space within our community could accommodate for new residential growth, et cetera. Again, that's a non-scientific crystal ball other than a lot of intuition and seeing growth in our district for 17 years plus at about 200 students per year. I think that trend is going to continue for a while into the future. So I just wanted to share that to set the stage for, okay, what now? And we talked about this a couple weeks ago at the work session. And we have some individuals here tonight prepared and ready to give you more detail on what those next steps are with some recommended action. So with that, I'll turn it over to our Executive Director of Finance and Operations, Trevor Peterson.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Anderson. That was a well-versed introduction. Don't have too much to add to that, too, but I am sitting here on behalf of not only our strategic partners in facility planning, but also with the support of our facility steering committee, as well as our community task force on facilities that has met in recent months. And with that, that presentation that was given to the board last Monday, we feel is a very exciting long-range facility planning proposal that we are asking to take those next steps to, take those next steps on tonight. Just to add a little bit to what Dr. Anderson had said, it is projected that by 27-28 school year, Wayzata Public Schools will exceed available building capacity at every grade level. And while that is exciting, it also challenges us to have these discussions that we've been having over the past few years and bring forth what we think is a really great plan for the future of our student learners. So again, in collaboration not only with Wold Architects and Engineers, but Kraus Anderson and Ellers Public Financial Advisors, tonight, presented to the board, we would like you to consider approving a resolution that calls for a special election to be held on April 14th, 2026. This election would be seeking voter approval to renew an existing technology levy authorization, as well as the issuance of general obligation building bonds. The existing technology levy is set to expire after taxes payable in 2029 and would be renewed at the current tax rate of 2.66075% of the district's total net tax capacity, which would then extend that through taxes payable in 2039. This levy does generate roughly $7 million annually for the district, which is used to fund technology systems, devices, and personnel costs. The issuance of the general obligation building bonds would be structured over 2 ballot questions. One question would approve the construction of what Dr. Anderson said of a new elementary school, a new middle school, in addition to Wayzata High School, expansions to various school building kitchens, safety and security updates and enhancements, as well as various other capital projects across the district. Second standalone question would then ask for the approval to construct a new 8-lane pool at Wayzata High School. So we thank those who were here to voice or address the board concerning that. The pool would support physical education classes, swimming and diving programs, and will be available for community use. Therefore, having said all that, the administration is asking for the board to approve the recommended action before you. And it should also be noticed by approving the resolution calling for this special election, the board is also authorizing the administration to submit to the Commissioner of Education of the state of Minnesota for review and comment. That document is required to be submitted on or before November 25th of 2025. So I think it's worth noting that that does include approval of that as well in this motion. So with that, we would ask you to introduce and ask for the question of the recommended action before you.
Thank you, Trevor. So colleagues, the recommended action is to adopt a resolution relating to determining the necessity of renewing and expiring capital project levy authorization and issuing general obligation bonds and calling a special election thereon. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I second. And I ask that we waive the reading of the resolution.
Any discussion? Hold on one second. Sure. Dan. Sure.
Well, we're very excited. I think one of our purposes of the district is how we meet the needs of a growing population. That's our mission too as a school board. So this is just really great to see. And new construction means new additions to our district stories. So I couldn't be more excited. It's going to be great to see this work in action. So thank you so much for everything.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you, team. I know you presented in our last session, again, all the history, how did we get to this point, why are we recommending what we are recommending, and again, Trevor, as you called out, this is not, the end of it, right? There is still going to be Minnesota State Board review and things like that, and then ultimately it's on voters' hands. So again, thank you for all your help and, walking us through the process until now.
First, I would like clarification. Swimming pool. It sound. Awesome, to be honest. At the same time, as I said, I asked, is it wants versus needs? Question for me comes: why we're not using East Middle School swimming pool and West Middle School swimming pool for PE classes?
Yeah, that might be a good Dana question. You mind?
I can take that, but I may also reach out to Jenny Ebert for this one. The East Pool is contracted out to the community and is used all day long by our community, correct? Yeah, so that one is we have an agreement with the city of Plymouth, and they use that for their community planning. And then the West Pool, as you heard, is extremely old, and so it'd be very hard. It's not anywhere near. There's no locker rooms and so forth, so it's not conducive to student learning, students dressing, undressing, supervision. Also, a challenge that we have with that is that in order to have students in there and meet legal and safety guidelines, we would need WSI, trained lifeguards in there, or we would have to make sure that our FIED teachers all have that, and that has not been something that we have done. I will say, having been a principal at a middle school where we added a pool on, it is very difficult to do that piece in a FIED program with all the transitions and so forth and the unique needs of middle school learners. So it has not been part of our FIED curriculum at this time.
I might just add too, if I may, given the nature of the schedule in middle schools, it would be a pretty tight turnaround time for an individual class period for physical education. Because if I'm recalling correctly, I don't think those are scheduled in a block. So you would need that extended amount of time. It'd be more conducive probably in the block schedule at our high school where they have a longer period of time. The limiting factor there has been they haven't had a pool at the high school. So this would, maybe create some opportunities for actually offering some swim classes at the high school because the facility would be right
Additionally,
there.
we do, our students can take a lifeguarding class, and we do some stuff with sailing and some stuff with scuba diving, but we do that off-site at the high school. So a pool at the high school would allow us to engage in curriculum at the high school level. And to your point, Dr. Anderson, that's much more conducive at a high school level also, where there's not some social emotional needs that occur that make swimming at a middle school very difficult.
I would just say too that we strive for continuity of the curriculum across all buildings, and the level in East and West with a pool would be compared to Central without a pool, and we wouldn't be able to deliver comparable programs in that regard. And just as a point of interest too, I think we have about just short of 200 high school swimmers involved in our 3 main swim programs. So it is pretty sizable co-curricular programming offering as well.
And one more clarification. I think today I heard that this one, before it came to fruition, it had been in works for 3-4 years, correct?
I'm sorry.
Before this proposal came to table, it had been in at works for about 3-4 years. Am I correct?
The big package of
Yes,
projects, we've
yes.
been having conversations about facilities kind of ongoing for quite some time.
Okay.
Sal, did you have something you wanted to add with that? Because you've been with us through that.
Yeah, I was just going to add that I think that the district's been closely monitoring October 1 enrollments and trying to decide when the right time was. So I would say it's been an ongoing conversation for 3 or 4 years, but probably about this time last year is when that very observable 3-year trend was on the up and up, a full recovery from pandemic, and kind of knowing that when you were going to get full, we had to start aggressively talking about it. So.
And on that note, I think we probably would be where we are today 2 years ago had it not been for the pandemic. Again, yeah, it's hard to predict, but that did slow down our growth. But then now it's really accelerated again. So there's a little bit of catch up with that.
And one more clarification that, yes, I sent an email with a bunch of questions. I would like to say I appreciate for answers. But next thing I'm gonna read because as if when I was writing it, I didn't have that information. And since I'm representing taxpayers too, I am trying to do my due diligence about how responsible we are with money. First of all, this is a very complex proposal which should require time and proper amount of discussion. This is over $500 million decision. While I appreciate the work of Board Facilities Committee and heavy lifting of a task force, We each need to be able to individually explain to our neighbors why it is a good decision to spend $500 million in a district which is almost fully developed. Hazel Reinhardt explained that enrollment growth in suburbs slows dramatically even before the district is totally built out. The whole time we listened to presentation from Hazel and Morris Leverman Company, we knew that it is about a construction of a new elementary and middle school buildings, which many in community actually support. Only last Monday, I heard that referendum includes building renovations, security additions. While I understand rationale for having functioning kitchens in several elementary schools, unfortunately, we did not hear about the reasons behind other renovations. How much will be spent of a new construction versus renovations, renovation versus safety improvements? Knowing that safety is number one in parents' minds after September shooting, it would be nice to hear what kind of features can help us as a district for safety and security. While we don't want to volunteer all the features to potential perpetrator, we would like to know what was rationale in choosing particular measures and how can it help in stopping a perpetrator. Today we have a middle school capacity of 3,226. And what is the thought process to build an entire building for enrollment of 3,489? What is the operating cost? There were no discussion of operating cost. More buildings will require more staffing and higher maintenance expense. How it will be handled, especially 10 years from now, after student growth subsides. In respect of a swimming pool, many school districts are closing their pools or filling them in because, like I heard on last Monday, you hardly break even because maintenance cost is high. We did not discuss operating cost and how it will be covered. In order to be able to explain the need of a referendum, we need to hear what and what are we planning to spend on, and hear justification, reasoning, why. We heard from Amy that an election cost us about 10,000 grand, 100,000 grand. Hearing last Monday that we knew for a long time, today I heard 3 to 4 years, about need of referendum. Why didn't we plan to include referendum questions in November this year or next year in order to be fiscally responsible and make sure that we are transparent with the taxpayers? Doing it in April feels as a form of voter suppression to me because not as many voters will be turned in. While technically we will have a chance to vote against this proposal, or weigh in future meetings, realistically, once the ball is rolling, any changes are unlikely. Things are tough economically. Recently, many corporations like Target, one of the major corporations for Minnesota, announced their plans to lay off employees. On top of that, Hennepin County announced about 7.8 tax increase for the next year. Lastly, in order to justify asking what kind of money we need to have a better business plan, which explains what are we spending money on, itemization, and why. Thank you.
Board colleagues, the resolution that's in front of us is the culmination of years of research and collaboration to determine the current space needs that are based in our teaching and learning needs of our students. There has been an incredible amount of deliberate effort that has included inputs on many fronts. I'll just name a few of them. They include financial and building partners, several demographic studies, steering committees, principals, senior leadership teams, the wider administration, development of a community task force, and several community surveys. The potential ask is big, but the process has proven to be deliberate and actually very much follows in Wayzata's tradition of being fiscally responsible. Please remember that this resolution allows us to hear the voices of our voters on the exciting options that are ahead of us.
Yeah, Sheila.
So I first ran for school board in 2019, and we were talking about all of this stuff then. I mean, even, the kitchens, parents have been begging for these for so long. And this, it's not even about a number of students in the building. It's about, can the food be prepared there, and is it, better quality? Is it fresher when you can prepare it on site? I mean, if you've been, I've been involved for a long time, and we talk about this. We've been talking about this for so long in the facilities committees and in finance, and it's just, I don't know. I've heard from parents, and so I'm excited to approve a vote because I want to hear more from the community. This is the community's opportunity. I feel like the district, everybody has done an amazing job to do their due diligence, to base their, these decisions on, again, so much that has gone into this. It's mind-boggling that anybody would think that it's just coming out of the blue. We need to plan ahead. We will have students without a building, and it's part of our responsibility to plan ahead and use the best information that we have available. You can have low birth rates and still have a growing district if you have homes being built at the rate they're built in Wayzata, and in a district like Wayzata that has a lot of people who want to come move here. So I think, I know myself, I'm stressed that we're gonna run out of room, and I've heard from parents that feel the same, and many of them will probably be very eager to do this for our district.
So when I ran for the board 12 years ago, or got on the board, and there was a lot going on, someone said to me, Sarah, you need to remember, school districts are not speedboats. They are huge ocean liners, and it takes them a little while to move where they need to go. And as I think about this referendum process, we've been on the ocean, and we have been thinking about all of the things, and the work and the due diligence and the patience. And I think patience is really important to really think about, if we are going to spend taxpayer dollars, we need to make darn sure that we really need that, and we need to become crystal clear about what we're going to spend it on and why we should be spending it on that and not something else, because 13,000 students and 70,000 plus taxpayers have a lot of ideas and needs and things that we could do to serve them better. I really want to thank the task force that gave up time in the summer and the fall to look at all of these proposals and to engage in a full set of honesty and skepticism and thoughtful direction. I want to thank this team. I'm going to guess that you, like me, would like us to be a little more like a speedboat sometimes, because we've got the students coming, our teachers need the spaces, and our parents have high expectations of what their children will encounter when they come to school. Sometimes everything doesn't line up, so we get our calendars right and our numbers right and all of those things, but I do believe that we have had a very comprehensive process, and we've had the right people on the bus to really drive through, get a good understanding, and come forward with a question. We trust that the state will review our documents and give us feedback based on their knowledge. And then most importantly, we trust that the voters will listen to our case and will think clearly about it and how it affects their pocketbook, and then they'll make decisions as well. So thank you. And thanks to the students that are giving up their night as well to come and tell us things, because that shows dedication. So thank you.
Okay, I may have mentioned this last Monday, but pardon me if I'm repeating what I said last Monday. But I have two things to say. One is, first of all, I'm not an expert in finance. I understand just enough to understand enough. So I trust that, Sal, when you presented what you did last week, you convinced myself and voters to be that although a lot of them thought that additions to the existing buildings is enough, it's probably about the same cost as building new buildings, right? Did I hear that right?
Correct. Yes, there was a comparison of building onto East and West Middle School as that option was within about 10% of the cost of a new building, with drawbacks to site size and transportation and attendance areas being taken into consideration. And then there was also discussion of potential expansion of some of the district's elementary schools, and some of those same challenges, in addition to driving some elementary schools to being over 1,000 students, were some of the major concerns. So I would say it was a combination of budget and attendance areas and educational advisability.
Sure. That does not mean that, that voters without knowledge, without information, will just say yes to the ballot, on the ballot. I think we will need a lot of effort to educate. I think that will be the most important thing between now and April if we approve this recommendation. Also want to add one more thing. We are looking at close to $500 million in the referendum. 2 years ago, Independent School District 196, consisting of Rosemount, Apple Valley, and Egan schools, approved a referendum of $495 million. So it is not unheard of, and I'm confident that our communications department, finance department, facilities committees will do a good job of educating voters, and I hope we do this for the students.
Again, I can sense that I am painted right now like I am opposing, as I said, community. And from many of them, I heard that, yes, elementary, yes, middle school. But I am just challenging with our itemization, and I was just asking, it would be nice to have itemizations, what and why. That's the reason. I don't have a doubt that, I'm not expert definitely in finances. It is me going to a community and being able to sell it. If I cannot say what items, for what reason, I cannot sell it. It is like you are going to bank and you are just saying, I need that amount of money, but without itemization. I'll be honest, it will fail. I'm not sure any banker will give. The same way I would like to be able, if I am out and about in community, to explain what is the reason behind, what are the items and why. That's the only reason why I wish that we saw more and we had the chance to discuss. Given the fact...
I'd like to call the question, and we can provide Valentina with information at another time, but I think everybody else is ready to vote.
I am done. Thank you, Sheila. I had just last sentence, and that's it. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, I'm going to read the recommendation again. Recommended action is to adopt a resolution relating to determining the necessity of renewing an expiring capital project levy authorization and issuing general obligation bonds and calling a special election thereon. This is a roll call vote.
Dan Ginestra is absent.
I'm sorry?
Wait? Do you want to wait for Dan to come?
I was going to ask for a 5-minute break after this, but okay, well. Yeah, let's see, let him come back. Yeah.
Sarah Johansson?
Yes.
Paris Bende?
Yes.
Sheila Pryor? Yes. Heidi Cater?
Yes.
Valentina Ayers?
No, and I give reasoning.
Milan Sahoni?
Yes.
Dan Ginestra?
Yes.
Thank you, and the motion carries. So I'm going to ask for a 5-minute break so we can... Dan?
Can we get through the last item?
I'm sorry, we need a 5-minute break. Thank you.
I'm there with you.
Okay. Okay, so moving on to the next item, it's the other board action this evening. The school board will vote on selection of a search firm to assist the school board in the recruitment and hiring of the next superintendent for Wayzata Public Schools. Executive Director of Human Resources, Dave Lutz, will walk us through the process. Dave?
All right, thank you, Board Chair Sahoni, members of the board, Superintendent Anderson. Last month, requests for proposal were issued to superintendent search firm with a history of recent searches in comparable Minnesota school districts. Following a review of written proposals, MSBA was one of 3 firms selected to present to the board on November 3rd, 2025. Ray and Associates and HYA and Associates were also invited to present. Subsequent to these presentations, each board member then submitted their feedback regarding the presentations and proposals from the 3 firms. While the Superintendent Search Committee concurred that each firm offered services likely to result in a successful process, MSBA's presentation and proposal aligned most effectively with the district's stated needs and profile. Board Chair Sahoni, Board Chair Millen Sahoni, and Board Vice Chair Heidi Cater also conducted reference calls to several school districts that have recently partnered with MSBA in a superintendent search, which corroborated the feedback gathered from the Wayzata board members. The following summarized feedback from the WPS board members is reflective of the strong support of the selection of MSBA to lead our superintendent search. The summary of feedback includes experience and knowledge. MSBA possesses extensive experience and a comprehensive understanding of the Minnesota school governance, direct familiarity with Wayzata, and strong Minnesota-based connections. Relationship and trust. Wayzata Schools, a longstanding member district of MSBA, will benefit from MSBA's extensive educational network and wide reach, as MSBA represents most Minnesota school districts. MSBA's capacity to foster trust and strong relationships throughout the search process is evident in recent successful searches and positive feedback from neighboring districts. Methodology and support. MSBA offers a robust methodology for partnering with and coaching the school board and engaging with the Wayzata school community, including comprehensive services, post-hiring training, and a commitment to sustained support. Process and value. MSBA offers a straightforward process and fee structure. They also have a highly responsive and experienced staff that will be fully available for ongoing support throughout the process. So the recommended action you have before you is to approve the selection of Minnesota School Board Association's Executive Search Service as the recommended search firm to assist the school board in the recruitment and hiring of the next superintendent for Wayzata Public Schools. If this selection is approved, a contract for services with MSBA will be recommended for approval at a special session on November 24th, 2025.
Thank you, Dave.
I'm not going to eat lemon heads before I read something next time. My mouth is like watering and I'm not pronouncing words correctly. Sorry about that.
You're drooling all over.
That doesn't have to be part of the action, but I'm like, not. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to read that recommended action again real quick. Is to approve the selection of Minnesota School Boards Association Executive Search Service as the recommended search firm to assist the school board in the recruitment and hiring of the next superintendent for Wayzata Public Schools. If this selection is approved, a contract for services with MSBA will be recommended for approval at a special session on November 24th, 2025. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Yeah, Valentina, go ahead.
Just wanted to share, I'm very thankful and grateful that MSBA is the one, because I heard very good news from our school district. Some of them already went through a process of hiring twice, and both times were very happy with MSBA service. Thank you.
Just want to make a quick couple of comments. First of all, I want to thank Dave for working tirelessly to bring us to this point. All three firms we interviewed last Monday brought their own strengths to the table. MSBA stood out. Their references, as Heidi and I found out, said good things about them. They have helped districts across the state in identifying a superintendent. Districts from the size of 154 students to one which is 28,000 plus. One neighboring district required a search done very quickly 2 years ago, and they did that. During the reference checks, comments like, very professional. They let the school board make their decision while guiding them. They hold your hand throughout the process. The process is fully transparent with community involvement. These comments makes one feel confident about their ability to help us find the right candidate. All right, so I'm going to read the recommendation again. Recommended action is to approve the selection of Minnesota School Boards Association Executive Search Service as the recommended search firm to assist the school board in the recruitment and hiring of the next superintendent for Wayzata Public Schools. If this selection is approved, a contract for services with MSBA will be recommended for approval at a special session on November 24th, 2025. This is a roll call vote.
Sarah Johansson,
Yes.
Horace Bende,
Yes.
Sheila Pryor, yes. Heidi Cater,
Yes.
Valentina Ayers,
Yes.
Dan Ginestra,
Yes.
Milan Sahoni.
Yes, the motion carries unanimously. Thank you. The final item on the agenda is board reports. We have none tonight. This concludes the Wayzata Public Schools regular board meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The time is now 9:44. The Wayzata Public Schools Board of Education regular meeting for Monday, November 10th, 2025 is adjourned.